want that class that got that one test all right. Where did that class go? Tell me, how did that happen? I still think there must have had some sort of shenanigans. No possible way. Alright. I don't even really, what do we call it, what did I say, percents?
Yeah. Yes.
Please remember what percents means. Percent means what?
100.
Okay, so, what if I asked you this question? Change, this is actually it's a command. This is an order, this is not, I should say, will you change, you're not, you will change. Change 16 2/3% to a fraction. Change 16 2/3% to a fraction. And I said, hey, give me some suggestions. Let's look at, first of all, it's always good to think of it easy, something you can do to get yourself in a positive sort of attitude. If I said change 25% to a fraction, 25% is what fraction and how did you get that? It is 1/4, but how do I get 1/4? What did I do? What was that?
You divided, you put 25
Over 100.
you know, 25 over 100.
Right, it's 25 over 100 and that equals, reduce it down to 1/4. Now, 16 2/3% is what fraction then? Chase says what?
1/6.
How do you get that? Is it on your sheet as 1/6?
Yes.
Is it in the book as 1/6? Let's say you get a fraction, let's say you get something where you don't know and you don't have your reference sheet there, Chase, and we have to actually figure this out. How do I get from 16 2/3 to a fraction?
You divide.
Now, stop. I already did one problem for you. Why don't you do the same thing that I just did? I already did 25%. What did we do to 25%?
Put 16 over 100.
I don't just put 16 over 100. I have to put 16 2/3 over 100. It doesn't get any easier than that. Right, Brian? That's what you're going to ask. That doesn't look right, does it?
That doesn't look right, does it?
Somebody, I'll entertain a notion how to simplify that because that will not stand. Emily.
Would you do 16 times 3 plus 2?
So you're saying make it improper on top? All right, well, let's do that. What is that? 50 over 3. Emily says this.
Oh my.
No, you're actually on the right. You're actually that does need to be done. Anybody else looking for help? Looking for guidance here? Huh?
Then divide the 15.
By what? Divide it. Well, if I divide it, I'm going to go back to this. You're saying take 50 over 3 and divide it out, you'll get this again, because that's what I just...
And then
Oh, people. Sittler?
you turn 100 into a fraction? 100 over
Sure.
100.
Let's do that. I now have changed 100 into a fraction.
That's just you
Actually, that's part of it too.
You multiply. Or divide.
You divide.
Divide the flip 100 over 1 and multiply it by 50.
Look at Madison. If you flounder enough, you may or may not get the answer. Look. What is a fraction? Nothing more than a division problem. This is 50 over 3 divided by 100 over 1. That doesn't look so bad now, does it?
Looks better than that.
And how do you divide by fractions?
You flip the second number.
Yeah, you're going to flip this one. Take a look at it. If you get 50 over 3, you multiply it by 1 over 100.
50 over 300.
Well, but we cross cancel. 50 goes into 50 once, 50 goes into 100
Twice.
twice. And now 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 2 is 6. 1/6. Now let's try to find one where Chase doesn't have in his notes. Chase, how about this one? 41 and 2/3. Is that one in your notes? Probably is. Is it?
It's example, just don't look at
I think it's in the book. I'm just asking if it's in his reference sheet. Is that what a reference sheet one? Changing that then to a fraction would entail, I suppose we should write the steps down. Really, all you're doing, if you want to get to the basic gist of it, is step number 1, make improper. Step number 2 then would be to divide by what?
100.
Or you might want to make it 100 over 1 in case you forget that it is a fraction. That's really the only 2 steps it takes to change 41 and 2/3% to a fraction. So what is 41 and 2/3? Well, 3 times 41 is what? 123 plus 2? 125 over 3. And I am going to divide that by 100 over 1. And what happens when I take 125 over 3 and divide it by 100 over 1? It becomes times 1 over 100. Is there some cross canceling there? 25 goes into this 5 times, into that 4 times. 5 times 1 is 5. 3 times 4 is 12. 5 over 12. You are ready for a super big challenge.
How would you turn 41 and 2/3 into like the top number? Like in 16 over 2/3, how did you get 50? Did you just multiply 16?
41 times 3 plus 2.
Oh,
Improper fractions. Let's find a good one here. Oh, there's not enough time to even come close to do this justice. I'm trying to find one that you don't have in your notes. Wait, do you have 8 1/3?
no.
Alright, now, how about 8 1/3% to a fraction? 8 1/3% to a fraction. Go. Bob, you're done? Emily, what'd you come up with?
112.
What?
112.
Is it 112? Let's see. You change this to improper 24, 25 over 3, you're dividing it by 100 over 1, which means you're multiplying it times 1 over 100, 25 over 112. Good, I'm glad we got that part straight because here's where things really go off color. Now, how about this? What if I asked you to make 2 11ths into a percent? do you change 2/11ths to a percent? I'll entertain any notions on that. Zachary?
Yeah, we do, what is over two, where they times that by 101.
Say what one more time? What'd you do? This first thing you said was to do up?
What, and then 11 over two.
No, why would you flip? Children, you can make anything a percent, whether it be a fraction, a decimal, or a number. To make anything a percent. Anybody know what you do? To make anything a percent, you multiply it by, anybody? 100%. So if I'm changing 2/11ths to a percent, I just multiply it by 100. And whatever I get for my answer is actually my answer, believe it or not. Now the problem with this is, it's kind of messy. Because nothing cross cancels, you end up with 2 times 100 is 200 over 11.
And you have to divide.
And you're going to have to divide it out to see what you get as an answer. How many times does 11 go into 200? 1 time is 11. Subtract. Now here's the sticky point, children. Look. I get a 2 left over there. I have nothing left to bring down. What am I going to do with it?
Make it into a fraction.
You will. We don't usually do decimals with percents, so you're going to keep it a fraction. It's 18 and 2/11ths percent. 18 and 2/11ths percent. Now maybe if you're mathematical, you caught on to the correlation between what we did just before this and what we did now. To change a percent to a fraction, what did I do?
Multiply.
I divided by 100%. To change a fraction to a percent, I multiplied by 100%. So this one you multiply by 100%. To go from this back to this, you divide by 100% or 100 over 1. That's exciting. Now, how about this? One more thing. Now, right out of the book. Let's go with this. 5/6. Change 5/6 to a decimal and a percent. I don't care. To a decimal and a percent. If I'm doing that, how do I do that? Well, we just did to a percent. What was the deal with the percent? You just multiply it by 100%, right? 5/6 times 100% means I get 500 over 6. How many times does 6 go into 500? That's not a lot. What was it? Oh, 8 is 48. 6 goes in 20. 3 times. What do I do with my leftover? So it's 83 and 2/6, which is 83 and what? 1/3%. That's half of it. That's my percent. How do I make that a decimal, ladies and or gentlemen? Oh, yeah, see? Zachary?
The 5/6 or the 83 or 30%.
What?
The 5/6, I think that's that decimal.
Yeah, well, these, by the way, will both be the same decimal. 5/6 is 83 and a 1/3%, which both means you'll get the same decimal for each of them. So which one would you change to a decimal, why and or how? By the way, you've already done most of the work, yes?
I'm going to put 88 to the point.
Right, to change a percent to a decimal, what do? You just move the decimal back 2 places, but here's an issue. I get 0.83 1/3 as a decimal, but you can't do that. Why? You can't mix fractions and decimals. So what's my fix? Anybody? What is my fix, Joseph?
You put 0.8 a repeater over the thing.
Joseph, I think, has it. 1/3 as a decimal is what? Just a repeater, 3. So this technically is 0.83 with all 3's that repeat. And rather than keep writing 3's, I can just put 0.83 repeater there. That's my decimal. How about this? Here comes, how about this? 5 1/2% is what is a decimal. 5.5% is what is a decimal. Who thinks they actually have that? Ooh. 5.5% is a decimal. Well, maybe you should start with what's 5% as a decimal. 5% as a decimal, Caleb Fisher, is what? 5% as a decimal.
Point zero. No, 0.020.
Don't overthink this, sir. 5% as a decimal, Cassie, is? Alright. 5% as a decimal is 0.05. But what do I do with this 1/2?
5.
What is 1/2 as a decimal? 0.5. So you just put a 5 there. No, the 1/2 as a decimal doesn't repeat. If it's a repeater, then you put the line, but this doesn't repeat. Now, to see if anybody understood any of what I just said, Andrew, I'm going to ask you, so prep yourself. 6 1/100%. What would that be as a decimal?
0.6.
No, it's 60%, by the way. Not 0.6. What is this as a decimal? What's 6% as a decimal first? No, that's 60%.
Oh, 6 over 100.
Which is what is a decimal?
60%.
6% as a decimal is 0.06. But now, how do I deal with this? What is 1/100th as a decimal? You don't put a second decimal point in there, you just put the 0-1 because that is 1/100th of what that percent is. If somebody actually gets this next one right, we will have no assignment. 35 4/5% as a decimal. Maybe I should go with at least 5 people have to get this right. We're going to play the corner game. Write your answer, circle it, and then put your pencils down because I don't want somebody cheating because I know you will. Most of you have no common sense of. I want it as a decimal. I need 5 people to get this right. All right, here we go. There's nothing to think about. There's no work to be done. You write down the decimal. Let's go. Wait, Chase, are you done? All right, put your pencils down. Chase, what'd you get for an answer? What? Hurry, we're running out of time. Come on, Chase. I can't give you forever.
We both judge you.
That's right. I Doubt whether even 3 people get it right. Chase, stop figuring. There's no figuring.
I hope I get it.
Chase!
Chase! Pick somebody else. Say something.
35.
What?
35.
Anybody agreeing with 35 point
No.
something?
No.
Chase, go stand in that corner. Go stand with Chase. Go stand with Chase if you agree with 35.
Quarter of shade.
Grace.
Against the wall.
0.354.
0.354. Come stand over here. Stand over here if you agree with Grace. 0.354. Joseph.
0.3505.
0.3505. Joseph, go stand by the door. Anybody agree with Joseph? So far, 3 different answers.
This is great.
Cassandra Malas.
0.35.
Just 0.35? All right, go stand over there. Now, all right, over there. Well, you should stand next to Chase, because that's Zachary.
0.3583 continuous.
If you stand up, Zach. If you agree with Zach, go stand next to Zach and by the fridge back there. Clausing. 0.35125. Clausing, come stand up here next to the chalkboard. Anybody agreeing with Clausing? Ulrich.
0.358.
0.358. If you agree with Lauren, stand over by the garbage can somewhere. Layton. 3.35 repeater. Stand by the door, that door over there. Oh!
Oh, here we go.
Now, stop.
It's still not fine.
Here's the deal I will make. Somebody in this group is correct. Stop, now listen to me. Those of you who are seated, this will lay completely on your shoulders. You get to pick which of the groups around the room you can stand with. If I get a group of 5 with the correct answer, no homework.
Okay, guys.
Go! Go! Stand next to somebody. Stand next to somebody.
Everybody, make it so the smart people have 5. And then the smartest.
I got some shades there.
No, don't join me. I'll join you. Yes. I know I got it wrong.
Okay. 35% is in fact 0.35. If you got that far, so far you're right. People. Listen to me. 4/5 as a decimal is what? 4/5 as a decimal. 4/5 as a decimal is how many tenths?
I don't know.
Alright, your assignment for tomorrow. Problems number 5 and 6. Go.
Wow.
Lesson 63. 5 and 6.
I mean, I basically had it. I just had it.